Problems. Got to call the producer. I'm sorry.
No problem. You're just saying
It
if
ended
there's
the
an issue.
Oh no! It ended the stream on us. It bloody
Okay.
ended the stream.
Gosh darn it, that means all the links won't work.
I know. Well, we will. Don't worry about it. Just hang in there, okay?
Actually, it looks like it's on YouTube.
Yeah, but it said in stream. Oh no, we are. Okay.
Yeah, it's on there.
Okay, so this is a weird day. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Light Gate. We are coming to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans in Louisiana at the United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM. We are on Roku, Facebook, the Light Gate channel, YouTube, and many other applications, and all our radio stations. Tonight we have a wonderful guest who you still see sitting here, but I'm going to give it over to Preston and go.
Hello, everyone. Yes, welcome to the Light Gate. So excited to be here. This is episode 39, if you can believe it. I'm your host, Preston Dennett, and my lovely co-host sitting right next to me on the screen is contactee Dolly Safran and the subject of my book, Symmetry. And we do have an amazing guest who we popped in early. We got a little confused here about whether we were live or not, but I think we are good now. So just want to say a big thank you to all of you for joining us tonight. I really appreciate when you come on to hear our wonderful guests. So thank you so much, Brian. Very happy that you could join us tonight. And hello, Doxy. Hello. Thank you very much. And Louise, so sorry to hear about your mama Kitty. Oh.
We'll be sending lots of energy, okay?
Prayers. We love our fur babies. They are love in this world. So wishing the best for that. Hello, Nabnia. I don't think I've seen you here before, so welcome. And hello, Keisha and Luce and John Clark and Giant of the Frost. Hello. Your name is going to come up. Just a little warning there. Hello, Michael. Hope you are doing well. And hello, Sunny. Well, you guys are so awesome coming here each week to listen to our little show. Hello, Mr. B and friends, truth seekers. Namaste. You are awesome. Thank you so much. Your generosity knows no bounds and is truly appreciated. Hello, Lynn. Thank you for joining us. Who else do we have here? Goodness, just a Gen X dirtbag baby. That name always makes me smile. Hello, Susan. Hope you are doing really well. Surrounded by forests. I love that. Hello, Rad Peanut and Neural Channels. Oh, we have a nice big crowd here. Very, very exciting. Hello, Ruth Kleiber. Thank you for joining us. And Cheryl from Arizona, I guess. AZ. John P. Well, yeah, let's see here. John P. Adventures and Kason Lee and Star Orchid. Boy, you guys, you humble me. So thank you so much for joining us. Eliza Gull. Who else do we have here? Chris. Team. Thank you for joining us. Oh, Dana, thank you so much. You guys, you just warm my heart. Dana, thank you so, so much for your donation. Absolutely lovely of you. Thank you, thank you. And Orbeez and Jao Batista and Martin Rivera, former guest.
Hi, Martin.
Thank you. All right, I'll just get started because you guys, you just can make me go on forever. saying hello to you. Love you all. Thank you for joining us on episode 39 of The Light Gate. And as you can see, our guest is Medium Jenny Lea. We've got a lot to talk about: mediumship, tarot, past lives, channeling, UFOs, all kinds of stuff. And our guest, Jenny Lea, is an empath, a psychic, medium, channeler, and a podcaster. And she has experienced the unusual for her entire life. But over the past 5 years, she has been honing her skills with the paranormal, supernatural, and otherworldly. In addition to tarot reading and evidential mediumship, Jenny also connects with spirit guides, higher selves, angels, higher dimensional energies, past lives, and aliens. She's the co-host with Giant of the Frost of the Witching Hours podcast. I had the great honor of being a guest, how we were able to connect. And Dolly and I are like, we need to get Jenny Lea on our show. So here she is. Jenny Lea is also an artist and an educator with a BFA in art education. And this love of art has inspired yet another realm of channeling called spirit art. Jenny is a firm believer that weirdness is the new normal. I love that, Jenny. That is so true. All you other people are weird.
Exactly. You normal people are the weird ones.
So you can find
Right.
Jenny Lea on Twitch throughout the week. She also teaches spiritual classes monthly. And of course, you can check out her podcast at thewitchinghourpodcast.com. And there are other links in the show description. But Jenny, we are so honored to have you joining us tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I'm the one who's honored. I'm so excited to be here. And thanks again, Preston, for being on our show. And we're going to have Dolly on soon. Plan that out.
Yeah, it was all kinds of fun. And when you started talking about all these different things, I'm like, wow, these are exactly the topics, because they're all connected.
Oh,
Let's
yeah.
face it.
Mhm. Yeah.
So let's just start how I always love to start is, because I always, when I see people as adults, I can't help but imagine them as little kids running around,
Yeah.
barefoot through the woods or however the streets, and how their experiences started out. Because me, I
Yeah.
started out very skeptical, though I was kind of always a spiritual guy, and did have some paranormal experiences at a young age. And I suspect you did too.
Absolutely. Well, I grew up there's this new term that I've heard recently, and maybe it's not new, but I just heard it recently called high strange.
Yeah.
That was my life because my family is high strange. My dad was very open about all kinds of different experiences that he had, so he just talked about it all the time.
Oh,
It
wow.
was normal. That was normal, And then when your parents talk about weird stuff, that's normal to you. And then my mom also had premonitions and things, so it
You were
started.
lucky. My parents
Yeah.
were not like that.
I'm even more lucky now because of what I do for a living now. They're very supportive. So
Oh.
I am absolutely lucky about that.
You are.
Um,
Trust me.
so I've been thinking over, because I knew this question was coming. I've been thinking over my childhood. What is it? What
What's
was
the
happening?
earliest? How did it start?
I remember being about 8, sitting in my room by myself with the door shut, playing Barbies probably, and knowing that I was not alone. I knew something was watching me. And looking back on it now, I think could have been anything, because now I know what's out there. It could have been anything. But I remember feeling at that time, and I think I even wrote a poem about it, that it was aliens. And why would I think that as an 8-year-old kid? Because, we talked about everything in my house, and we watched at that point in time, not very good UFO documentaries, let's face it, in the 80s and early 90s. No. So they were in my awareness, alien things were in my awareness, but to think that that's what it was, yeah. I think. I think it probably was.
Just a sense of a presence then?
Yes, it's like the knowing that there's something there that I can't
That's a
see.
good way to describe it. Knowing. I use that term a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes, it's the knowing, claircognizance, just knowing.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. So then we skip ahead some time. And then this was something I just remembered after watching you guys' podcasts.
Wow.
When I was about 18 or 19, I saw something I couldn't explain. I was still living at home. It was nighttime, but everybody was still awake. Like, it wasn't so late that everybody was sleeping. And I had been in my bedroom. I'd gone out and I came back. And when I came back in the door, the window was lit from the outside, like a spotlight was shining in it. And then and then what clearly looked like an ET head was in the window as a silhouette. It was a big, round, ovally head with a little skinny neck, and I could see the shoulders.
Wow.
And I freak out, like, wah, and I'm like yelling for somebody, come here, and by the time they get there, it's gone. So I was pretty scared, but I wasn't scared enough to not go outside and see what was going on. And there was nothing there.
Oh, good for you.
What city were you in and what year did it happen?
This is in Virginia, Central Virginia. I was 18 or 19, so it was probably like 2000, 2001.
Okay.
Yeah. And I had totally forgotten that experience until recently.
Do you remember what you thought? I mean, were you thinking ET or?
Yes, I was like, that doesn't look like a person. That doesn't look like a human head. But my rational brain kicked in and was like, well, it has to be a person. But there was no one outside. Was
it first floor or second floor?
First floor.
Okay.
But there was no way for car lights to shine in. The way my parents' house sits on the road, there's no way a car light could have been shining directly in the window. Yeah. And the window sits up high enough that whatever was there had to have been standing. They had to have been very tall, or perhaps, levitating or something. Yeah.
Well, it'd be one thing if it was just a face, but combined with the light, that raises a red flag. And the fact that I didn't think about this for quite some time.
Yeah.
That's another red flag, Jenny. That's contact.
I had forgotten all about it. I haven't, to my knowledge, seen any very definitive UFOs. There's been things that I was like, what is that? But nothing where I could be like, that's none of these wonderful experiences where the people see the crafts from 100 feet or something.
With all the little windows around them.
Yeah, no, nothing like that. Yeah. No ET waving to me.
What part of Central Virginia were you in?
Chesterfield, which is just south of Richmond.
Okay. All right. Wow.
Yeah. So those were my first two kind of ET experiences. Paranormal things, I think, were happening all the time, but I just didn't realize it.
Yeah, well, I mean, why are you going to call it paranormal if it's normal for
exactly.
you?
Exactly. My parents tell me when I was about 3, which I don't have a memory of this, that I would see a woman in my bedroom at night. But, and then my dad also used to see a woman in his bedroom at night when he was a kid as well. And we think they might be the same person.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's like a spirit visitation then?
Yeah. It gets complicated.
Well, describe the woman.
Well, I don't have a memory of her, but he explained her as being an older lady, this kind of stern looking, and she would wear a blue hooded cloak kind of robe thing. But just in the past couple of years, when I started doing this trance channeling, there's I I just will call her an energy that comes through. And we have given her the title of Divine Mother. And she's essentially like the mother energy. She's like feminine mother energy is essentially what she is. And I think she's connected to those sightings of the woman in the room for
Can
us.
you see her?
I did get a glimpse of her through one of my channelings, and she looked exactly like my dad had described her.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah. Older lady with a hooded robe thing on. Yeah.
Well, that's certainly intriguing.
Yes.
I
Yes.
wonder if this is like a family spirit or an ancestor or.
I think that she can, from what I'm figuring out about energies and spirits, especially the higher level, what we would think of as higher level, they can manifest themselves as looking like just about anything. So I think that she can appear to different people as different things. And to us, that's what she appears as.
Right. Well, that's very, very interesting.
Yes.
All right. So this just sort of ramped up for you as time went on?
Yeah. I started having spirit experiences in my 20s. Two of them happened right around the time that I got married to Gina the Frost. I was in the kitchen. It was right before we were getting married. I was by myself. I knew that my great grandmother was there. And I had a conversation with her, telepathically in my mind. So if you're not familiar with that kind of experience, it's just like hearing thoughts that are not your own.
Right.
And you know that they're not your own. So it's not like you're hearing them audibly with your ears. You're just like thinking things that you know are not your thoughts. So I had this conversation with my great grandmother, and she was just making sure I was doing the right thing. Are you sure you're doing the right thing? Getting married, Clearly I did, because we're still together, and that was a long, long time ago. But then right after we got married, we were on our honeymoon in Florida, and we were driving, and we had a friend that had passed away when we were teenagers. And all of a sudden I was like, he's sitting in the back seat.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants to tell us congratulations. Like, he's excited for us. But so you would think after I've had those experiences that I would have figured it out, that I was a medium, but I didn't. Until 2018. And I was watching an episode of The Dead Files, which is just a paranormal ghost show.
I know the show.
And at that time, it was Amy Allen was a medium on there.
She's pretty good.
Yeah. It always freaks me out that she only sees terrible things, but that's the way they twist it for the show. Yeah. So I was watching an episode of that. I think I was folding laundry. How exciting. And then she said to one of the clients, because she thought the client had abilities, she says, all mediums are empaths, but not all empaths are mediums. And it was like I got struck by a bolt of lightning, because it all clicked. It all fell into place. All the puzzle pieces came together. And I was like, because I had known for like 10 years that I was an empath. And then I just realized I'm a medium. And then I just ran with it after that.
Wow.
That's
So when you sensed the presence of your deceased friend in the backseat, was there an actual apparition, or is that?
No, it's like I sensed him. I knew it was there. I knew he was there. And then that same telepathic hearing in my mind of what he was thinking, but also feeling as well, like feeling the emotions.
Because I imagine the spirits, especially of our loved ones, are around us all the time.
Absolutely.
And it must be incredibly gratifying for them to know that somebody's actually hearing me.
Yes, yes.
Because I had one experience, I think my first one where I ever had that personally, because my mom passed away when I was pretty young. I was 19. And it was, I must have been in my 40s. I was watching the Long Island medium.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, I love Teresa Caputo. She's a riot.
Oh, yes.
And suddenly I heard, not so much heard, but like you said, a very subtle thought that someone was talking. Someone said, this next segment has a message for you.
Oh.
I thought, well, did I hear that? You know,
Mm-hmm.
but I heard it, you know, enough to pay special attention to the next segment. I think I may have mentioned this on a prior show, but it's just such a special experience for me because
Oh, yeah.
then Teresa Caputo, she's, you know, doing that thing with her lips. When she starts reading, she looks at the person. She says, "Does October 13 mean anything to you?" And it sure did to me. I started bawling because that's the day my mom died.
That was the day she passed. My goodness.
Thinking, oh my gosh, you know, that must have been my mom saying, you know, watch this.
Yeah.
So is that how it works a lot for you?
Yes. It's hearing a thought that you know isn't yours. But you know, now that I've learned how to do it and I practice it and I've learned the techniques, you know, now it's much easier to understand who the energies are, you know, and where they're coming from. And sometimes it's easy to figure out who they belong to. Sometimes that's still difficult.
All right. So when did you transition to like, wow, this is kind of interesting let's get a little more serious about this?
Of course, just like most people, I think, that have had some life-changing thing in 2020. But it started before the pandemic hit. I had taken a weekend course in mediumship locally, and then the pandemic hit, and then it was like, okay, well, now I got time to really focus on this because we weren't going to school as a teacher. And I started taking classes with Cindy Kaza, and that was it. Then it was like, I had been feeling for a long time that I was supposed to be doing something with all of these abilities that I had, but I had no idea what it was. And then
what were the
that was
classes
it.
like? I mean, I'm kind of interested in that because this is a skill you can actually teach a person.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And actually, that's something that I do now, as I help teach other people how to be mediums. You learn about all the clairs: claircognizance, clairaudience, there's
clairsentience.
Yes, there's one for every sense plus knowing. And so you kind of start with that, and then you start being able to sense energies. For me, I learned how to be an evidential medium first, and evidential mediumship is talking to your deceased loved ones, figuring out who they are based on evidence. And then when the sitter knows who the person is, that's when you give a message. And for me, it's usually a message that's helpful for that person at the time. You know, so like for Preston, if you know, when your mom came through and you really, you know, you had missed her all that time, your message might have been something like, hey, I've been here the whole time. You know, I love you. I miss you. You know, like this is, you don't, you know, something like that. So it's usually something they need to hear. So yeah, the evidential mediumship is very, very teachable. Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah. All right. So how did you start doing this?
So I took many, many classes over the course of 2020. And by 2021, I decided that I needed to start practicing it in a setting where I could, you know, really be doing this. So I actually started on Instagram doing its live streams and just reading people in the audience, the chat or whatever.
Oh, wow.
And then my husband had spent 2020 streaming video games on Twitch. So he had learned how to do Twitch through his video game streaming. And there was a tarot channel on there. And we're like, well, can I even read people? Like not, you know, just from a screen name? Like I didn't even know if it was going to work or not. But I got on there and that was it. I stopped streaming on Instagram. It was all Twitch from there on out. It was way easier to read for people than I ever thought it would be. And it's just because I'm connecting to their energy. Like, I
Right.
don't have to see their face. I don't have to know their real name. I don't have to know anything about them. I'm just connecting to their energy. Spirit's super smart and knows everything and is everywhere all at once. So
Yeah, I think in
they
some ways it
know.
might be easier if you don't know the person. You know
Yes,
what I mean? Because you're not having all this overlay of who you think
exactly.
they are.
hmm There's no biases or influence.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's amazing that distance is an illusion, I guess, to a certain extent.
hmm Yeah, because distance and time only exists for us
Right.
in our
And
three-dimensional.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not something that exists after we're not here.
I was given a deck of tarot cards by my mother, of all people.
hmm
I was about 10. And it had the explanation of all the cards in it. And it was a teaching tarot deck.
Yeah.
And so I was playing around with it. And a couple of my friends said, "Oh, I know what this is. Read me." And so I did. I was reading the cards. And then I realized, oh my God, it has nothing really to do with the cards.
No.
They're just there. And
Yes.
I what happens is you flop the card over, and then it's not, somehow you're able to connect to their energy better because you're looking at something, you're not thinking of anything else but this
hmm
person and letting what they got to say to you come in.
Yes.
And then I realized, oh my God, now I'm reading their family who are coming all around me. I was like, oh my God. My mother realized I was really doing it, and she used to call her friends up. I could also do psychometry by then, and
Oh,
really
yeah.
well. And my mom said it was a parlor trick in our house. My mom had invited me, and I would
Hey,
tell
watch
them,
this. Yeah.
yeah, yep.
I
Wow.
love
That's
this comment
amazing.
from Giant of the Frost. Yeah, COVID was a horrendous thing to go through, but boy, did it wake people up. Everyone got to realize the importance of family. They're like, I
Mhm.
hate my job. I'm
Yeah.
quitting. This is what I should be doing with my life.
For the first time.
UFO sightings went skyrocketing.
Oh, yeah. Because they're not looking at, like,
Everything else coming in, I
Yeah.
guess, they were quiet.
And,
I
for the
think-
first time in most people's lives, they had a chance to control their own time. What do I do with my time? Well, I want to do the things that I want to do with my time.
Yep.
And yeah.
Oh, so that it worked for me for sure.
Me too.
I was basically laid off, essentially. I mean, he wanted me to work under the table. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. He said, okay, you can work part-time. I'm like, well, fine. But I just never was happy there. So I ended up ultimately leaving. And I'm so much happier.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the thing we were fearing the most is the thing that really needed to happen in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So you started reading professionally at some point?
Yes. 2021 is when I started doing all of the professional medium tarot reading. And yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's
Very cool.
truly amazing.
So tell us about some of your readings that memorable ones.
We just had a really cool one happen just last week. There was a lady who came in, and I was reading for her, and I saw a piece of jewelry that had a heart-shaped crystal on it. And I was like, I don't know if this is something you have or something that the spirit who came in for her had, or is this something you're going to get? And she didn't know what I was talking about, which happens a lot in mediumship. But as a medium, you just have to trust what you're getting. That's one of the main things you're taught. Don't second guess yourself. Don't question it. Even if it makes no sense to you or no sense to the person, you just give the information. So reading ended. I move on to the next person. About 30 minutes later, she comes back and she said, "You're not going to believe this. I called my mom. I had a Christmas present there from a different aunt. She opened it, and it was a crystal heart for her Pandora bracelet."
Oh,
Wow.
And we were like, wow. So those are the kind of things that really make everybody in the situation believe that it's really happening, myself included, because that wasn't something I could have picked up from her. She didn't even know about it.
right.
So it's how did I know
Confirmation
that?
is important. Confirmation is important, don't you think?
Yes.
You know, it's even with psychic ability. The more you can confirm your ability, the better you are. It teaches you when
Absolutely.
you're on or off, and it's
Yeah.
important. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
because there
that,
are mediums out there who be like, yeah, your loved one's there and they love you.
yeah.
You know, well, I
They
would
miss
hope
you.
so.
They love you. Yeah.
And
Yeah. But then but what else? What's something that you couldn't know? And that was a fun one. That was recent.
That's totally cool. That's
Yeah.
when you fly high for about a day.
Yeah. Like, oh man. How did that happen? Oh, because I really was talking to her aunt that was on the other side. She knew that her other aunt had bought this thing for her.
Right.
Yeah.
It's fun to connect with spirits because you just walk away from it feeling really good, because they're in a great place and their energy comes through to you. And even after the experience and what was told or not told or whatever, you're still high on that energy. And it's incredible. It's sort of like payment, honestly, payment for what you're doing.
That's the way that I feel. A lot of mediums actually have the opposite experience where they feel really drained afterwards.
Oh,
And I'm not like that at all. And I think I've heard you say the same thing, Dolly, about when you have things happen, that when it's over for me, I have a really hard time going to sleep because I'm pumped up. I got all this energy.
Brain's working 90 miles an hour. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, here's a question coming in from chat along with a wonderful super chat donation. Thank you, Doxy. So appreciated. And she is asking you, Jenny, do you mostly see visions as in pictures or do you hear spirit?
Good question. I have all of it, really. My wonderful teacher, Cindy Keza, said, and she'll say this every time she does a reading for somebody, she says it's like playing Pictionary, charades, and telephone all at the same time. So you have to be able to. I get images. I'll see things. I'll hear them in my mind, like a thought. For me, sometimes a lot of it's the feeling, like that empathic feeling that I'm getting from them about their own emotions. But things that are different for me, past life things, I can pick up on for other people. And that's actually something I do, is past life readings for them. That's very different because when I'm picking up on a past life, it's almost like I'm remote viewing through time to this life. And I see it as like I'm watching a movie. And it's usually I'm watching it through the eyes of the person that I'm reading for. So that's very different.
Yeah, there is no time and space in psychic. And I learned this young because I have many past lives that I absolutely spontaneously remembered very, very young. And when I started picking up other people's past lives, I realized that your consciousness remembers everything. Okay. And it knows when it was past and forward as well. It's out of the time slip. It's not really here with you. It's indwelling your body, but it's still out there. And, I was picking up, you could almost read their entire existence if you let it happen from way back when all the way up to present, and sometimes one or two into the future, which freaks me out when I see that. I'm afraid to tell them, I don't want to get riled up because, we're working karma out right now, and to tell them that is almost, at odds with it. So
I remember my first glimpse of a past life. I was probably, we had just moved from Illinois. We were in a camper, all 8 of us, traveling across the United States, and we drove by this used car lot, which they have those little triangular flags that dip over and flap in the wind. And I'm looking at them and think, gosh, I remember that from somewhere. And
I think I know what you're going to say.
It burned into my brain. And it was a couple of years later when I saw Mount, Tibet.
They're everywhere. Those little flags.
Yeah, they're little prayer flags.
And Everest. Yeah.
And that's when I instantly remembered I was a monk or an initiate of some kind, really into, I guess it's Buddhism. I don't really know, but the feeling that used car lot gave me brought me back to that past life.
Yeah, China Frost has a past life of the same place, same thing. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So what about you? What are some of your past life memories? I'm curious.
So, before I got really serious into all of this, when I was just starting to get into what I lovingly recall the woo-woo things, I went to some past life meditation. It was not like it wasn't hypnosis. It wasn't a regression. It was just a circle of people who were meditating, trying to remember past lives, facilitated by somebody who knew how to do it. And one of my most profound ones, where I knew like this is what I'm seeing has really happened to me because it was so emotional, was I was a young girl in the frontier of America somewhere. I was in a dirt floor shack, and I was a kid at first in a little one-room dirt shack with some wood table and, dusty and gross. And I had a real mean dad, and he brought in a bird for me to pluck for dinner. And then it fast forwards in time, and I'm in a different, this one might have had 2 rooms, it was still a dirt floor, and I was married, but luckily my husband was a very nice person. And same thing, like just nothing, like I'm wearing like a flimsy little dress. And then if skips ahead in time again, let's go see how you died. Okay. So I'm giving birth to a baby, and there's a midwife, and she didn't make it. The baby was born, and she went out, and I saw myself in the bed because I was up in the ceiling, and I realized that I had died. And in the meditative state, I just start bawling because it was so overwhelming. Like I was reliving that moment of this baby. I didn't get to hold the baby. I didn't get to see the baby. I didn't get to be a part of the baby's life. And it was just like all came flooding back. It was a really tough one to revisit.
Yeah, well, I think we carry the trauma from past lives, and that's why past life recall can be so healing.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing, because I have out-of-body experiences quite a bit. I learned how to do it early on, and I always started getting interested in investigating past lives. But every time I did it, not every time, but often, I should say, you go right to the death scene.
Yes.
And like, oh my God.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for this. Yeah. I really wanted to see this part of it. Why couldn't you have shown me something that was nice and pleasant and fun? Yeah.
A few times it happened.
Yeah.
I did go to a Native American past life where I was a little kid and being treated like dirt in the Wild West. They just looked upon us as animals, seriously. But I did a spirit quest with, I guess, your, not the medicine man, but your guide, I guess.
Yeah.
But man, oh man, I love that man. We did this we had to track him. We had to carry these backpack of boulders, all this weird stuff you can't make up.
Yeah.
And you later find out it's true.
Yeah, they really did those things. Yeah.
The final test was to climb this cliff. I don't really like cliffs. I'm not a huge fan of them. Now I know why.
Is it because that's where was that the death scene, the cliff?
No, I made it. So
okay. It was
one of the pleasant ones, I should say.
Okay, good.
But yeah, I do remember quite a few death scenes. So
yeah.
It's traumatic.
It is.
I've learned a lot about my past lives through astral projection.
That's awesome.
So what about reading other people's past lives? What is that
so fun. I love it. It's like you get to watch a movie. But this is somebody's, because every person is a story. And every life is a story. So I'm getting to see these wonderful stories. Hopefully she doesn't mind me sharing, and I won't say her name in case she does, which I don't think she would mind. But the most recent one I did, I think might have been from some sort of different reality, like a parallel dimension or some other kind of reality in a different space or something.
World in the universe.
Because it didn't make any sense, But she was like a person who was learning how to do magic. And while she's being like initiated into, it's like this big ceremony and they're getting initiated into this magical order, a different group of people comes and like burns everything to the ground and kills everybody that's there, but somehow she survives. And for the rest of that life, she didn't want to do it anymore. She didn't want to do magic anymore. She didn't get to finish her training. But the people that were in the space with her in the village or whatever, they still came to her because she did know how to do things, but she didn't want to do it. And in her current life, she's a spiritual practitioner, and she keeps having these blocks where it's like, it's blocked, it's blocked, it's blocked. Well, why is it blocked? Well, that's where it started, was in that life. So I've just seen in the past few months since I gave her that reading that it's starting to get unblocked because now she knows. So it can, like you said, Preston, it can be very healing.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you ever had anybody read you?
For past lives?
Yeah.
No.
No. Really?
Well, no, I take that back. I did get a tarot reading one time for my friend for a past life. Yes. But then she got super weirded out because she said, I've never seen any spirit like yours before. And I was like, oh, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I think it was a good thing, but yeah. So it was supposed to be like a past life reading, but it just got off the rails because she saw some weird things. Yeah.
Yeah, I think most people have memories of past lives, whether they realize it or not.
Yeah.
I started to see it in people because if you have certain, likes or dislikes or phobias or mannerisms or tastes in food or the way you dress. There's one lady I knew, my friend's mother. Every time I'd look at her, I'd think she was Japanese, which she wasn't. Yeah. But she had all the manner, and she just, came across that way. And she ended up really loving Japanese stuff. I'm like, I knew it when I went to her house. You can. So if you want to know your past lives, that's one way to immediately connect to it.
I worked with a young girl one time at a retail job, and she was obsessed with Pearl Harbor. She was like a 19-year-old girl. Why is she obsessed with Pearl Harbor? I think she even got a Pearl Harbor tattoo. And she was going to get a job as a flight attendant because she wanted to go to Pearl Harbor. She's like, I have to go there. And I'm like, well, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I hate to tell you this, kid, but it probably means you were really there.
Yeah. There was a show on TV about kids' past lives, and I'm so sad it was canceled because it was riveting.
I think I watched that too. It was, yeah.
Man, because it's so amazing to see little kids saying these things that are just beyond their years.
Yeah, knowing things they couldn't possibly know.
Yeah, my last life, I won't tell you who I was, but I had the one before this one. Strangely, it was short. Okay, I wasn't very old when I passed, and it had to do with music and singing and all that kind of stuff. And I literally woke up when I was about 3 years old singing what I sang then.
Oh, wow.
And I knew all the words to everything. I could almost speak another language. And by the time I was 10, my mom was playing old movies on TV, and this person came on the movies. And I was like, oh! I knew exactly who I was. And it was kind of tragic. And I brought with me into this life an obsession that I had then into this life. And it was so that I would have a kid this life, literally have a kid. And I did. Okay. I was determined I was going to be a mom. I fought it for a long time and I gave into it. I was 32 when I had my child, but I was fulfilling my last life's what I wanted to do. And it is amazing to me. And now I walk around and I remember things and I see things and I hear things. And it's like I'm almost simulcasting now between me and the last time I lived.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It affects me even to this day. And it's really weird. And what's weird is in this life, I could sing. I had a beautiful voice. I was a mezzo soprano. Okay.
Wow.
And I could sing Gregorian chanting and choir, all the whole thing. And I had cancer of the thyroid and it had to come out. And guess what they did? They nicked it out to my cords.
Oh
And
my
no
goodness.
more voice. I had a funeral for my voice. I'm not kidding you. And then it hit me profoundly. I wasn't really supposed to sing, but I was given the chance to fulfill that one too, because I sang what I wanted to sing. Okay.
Oh yeah.
But now my path is different from that life, and I finally accepted it and moved on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta try different things in different lifetimes, even if you don't wanna.
That's how you grow.
Yeah.
What's cool about it is that's what I tell people who want to know about their past lives. You know, it don't look at it as like trying to remember who you were. Remember why you were, and what did
Yeah.
you fulfill, and what didn't you fulfill, and what do you want to do now about it? Because we're supposed to be able to remember this stuff anyway. Okay, and we're all
Yep.
kind of denied that here now.
Oh yeah.
And if we had a clear path to our memories, we'd do so much better than we do now. I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah.
It's the forgetting. The forgetting is so sad to
Yeah.
me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah, Dolly, I had a lot of the similar things for this life planned, I think, because I believe I had many, many lives where I chose the spiritual path only and I didn't have a family. So this time around, I was like, yeah, I need to have some kids.
I'm
And
trying
it
to tell you
makes,
something.
yeah,
Okay, you know I do what you do. Okay,
yeah,
I gotta say this to you
okay,
because I hear it. I hear it. Whatever life you had, one or two back, you had no ability to voice what you wanted to say, none, and it's still you're still got that block. You're
Mhm.
talking now, and I think because somebody's talking to me about it, you need to work more on letting your voice out completely, say what you think.
Yeah.
Honestly, don't be afraid. That's the message. That's the message from that life. That person you were then now. I have a voice. You use it because you're holding it back. I see you holding it back. Use it. Okay.
That's been the
The bane of your life. Yep.
yeah, it sure has. Yeah, my whole childhood, I didn't really speak to anybody.
Right.
Yeah, except for family and friends. If I was
Yeah.
at school, I didn't talk. I think 7th grade, I said nothing. And then one time I had to read a paper in front of the class, and the kids were like, "What?"
Oh,
You
no.
know, like, "Wow, you know, she's smart. She can talk." You know, they thought I was, you know.
Yeah.
I knew what I was going to do from a very early age.
Oh yeah,
With 5 brothers and sisters, like everyone's looking like, what am I going to do with my life? I'm like, well, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a writer. I'm going to tell amazing stories. I didn't know it would be UFOs and the paranormal, but I knew it was going to be amazing.
and you are, and you did it.
Yeah. Well, you know, when you're following your path that you're supposed to, the red carpet rolls out, the doors
It does.
open.
All the pieces fall into place.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
This
For
is totally
sure.
cool. Okay.
I believe that
So
to be true.
can you OBE? Can you go out of body at will?
I don't experience it like Preston does.
Okay.
But I do all the time when I do my channeling work,
Okay.
and that's on command. Yeah.
Oh, I want you to talk about this. I want you to all about it. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So
Okay.
we'll go back a little bit. So I learned evidential mediumship. I was doing it already. I'd been doing it for probably about a year and a half. And then I was doing these meditations, these long meditations called sitting in the power.
Yeah.
So I was like sitting in a dark room by myself, and all of a sudden I felt like, whoop, I'm trying to leave. And I'm like, I don't want to. Like, I'm scared, stop. But then I took a trance mediumship workshop with a fellow medium that had been in classes with. And I learned that there shouldn't be something that's scary. And this is how you do it. And this is, what you can do with it. And so I started trying it. And that's exactly what I was supposed to be doing. And that's exactly what I was feeling in those meditations. So when I do a channeled reading, I ground myself, center myself. I connect with the divine, with spirit. And then I just let myself step away and I float out, kind of like the top of my head. And to me, it feels like I'm a balloon floating in space.
Okay.
And I'm tethered to the pole of which is my physical form.
Okay.
And depending on how far I get in the trance, I can be close or I can start drifting further and further away. And the further and further away I go, the less I remember of what's coming through in the channeling. I choose not to do a full trance where you're not conscious at all of what's happening. Mostly because I like to know what's going on, but also I usually do that in my own, like I'm by myself in this space with no one here to call me back. Yeah. So I don't want to be unconscious of it, because then I might be floating around out there for a long time. And I kind of do need to come back at some point. I got other things to do, you know.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I have, my contact is Tala, and he's a fifth dimensional entity. And I worked with him for so long, I realized at some point that I'm constantly in contact. It's never broken.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And he can talk to me anytime he wants, and I can talk to him back and forth. He comes and he goes. Sometimes he's hanging around and sometimes he's not. But when he's there, I instantly can hear him, and he'll get interested in my conversations with other people sometime, and he'll interject. But I've never, ever allowed him, unless we're flying, to indwell me at all. Yeah. We meet somewhere in the middle. He's not really indwelling me. Our consciousnesses are out, and we mingle that way.
Yes.
I've never allowed another entity ever to enter my life.
In mediumship, that's called blending. So your energy's blending with his energy. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I thought about it for a while, and I thought I entertained the idea of trying it, but I am to fly, I have to be very, not controlling. I'm very detail oriented. And I think I'm so detail oriented and studying everything all at once that it can't happen. You know,
yeah.
I'm capable of it.
Well, I think it's also a choice too. Like,
true,
if you don't want to, then you don't, that's not something you should have to do if you don't want to do it. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. But that's what I'm doing when I channel. I'm bringing in the energy into my physical form.
So how many people have you channeled? And in what circumstances? I mean, tell me about the coolest one.
I don't know how many, because I stream a medium tarot stream twice a week on Twitch. And almost every time there's at least one channeling, if not more than one. Wow. Okay. Over the past year, maybe a little over a year at this point. We have higher dimensional energies like the Divine Mother I was talking about. We have one we call Great Spirit, because he's kind of like the father energy to the mother energy. My weirdest one personally is Peter the Apostle, which I don't even like to say out loud because it sounds ridiculous. Wow. But and the first time he told me, I said, "What was your job in the living?" He said, "Apostle." And I laughed at him, because I was like, "No, you're not. Just because your name's Peter doesn't mean you're the Peter the Apostle." And over time, it was like, no, he really was.
No, if you're a powerful figure in spiritual history, there's no reason why you wouldn't want to continue to reach out.
So he's the guy that we make spirit art with.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
He comes in and he makes art with us, and he tells us messages that are important. And he likes to make abstract art.
Here, I just want to give a shout out to just the Gen X Dirtbag Baby. Thank you for the amazing super chat.
Oh my gosh.
Dropping that money.
Truly generous of you. Thank you so much.
In the bills.
Nice. Yeah.
All right. Well, here is a question from Doxy to you, Jenny. And she is asking, during a reading, can you see if someone has had ET contact up close and personal?
I probably could if that's something that we set an intention for, but that's something that comes through in the channeling. That's another major thing that comes through in our channeled work is ET stuff. And the first ET experience we had was for a sitter who's in the chat, actually. Luce is the person.
Oh,
wow.
And I was like, this is not a human, like, I don't know what's happening. But they came in through a channeled reading, and it turned out that the reason why this particular being was coming through, or really we've had multiple beings from that same group come through for that sitter.
Yeah.
And it's because in a past life, she was one of them. And one of them is still very connected to them. Like they're still very much intertwined energetically because they love each other. And she just, they happen to be here and he's somewhere else. And so he comes in to say hello and talk to us and give us messages and give them messages. But also, they have also, Luce has also gotten to the point where they are starting to be able to communicate with that being on their own.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's totally cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's totally cool. I have a burning question, okay?
Yes, ask away.
Okay. And it's because I've sampled this a little bit. I want to see what you think about it, how you feel about what you've been doing. Every now and then I'll have somebody come through me to talk to somebody else. And they either get right up in my face or in the side of my ear, blah, 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 blah. And then I start seeing them. And then I can smell them. I can taste what they have in their, whatever flavor they're thinking about or whatever's, I can almost smell perfume sometimes, that they wore constantly, whatever. I get all these physical feelings from them. And it's like some are very powerful and I have to tell them back off from me because you're taking me over. And I wonder, do you experience that at all?
Yes. All of those are all the clairs that we talked about at the beginning, like this, you can smell things that aren't there and taste things that aren't there. Yeah. And you can feel things physically in your body. During an evidential medium reading, I usually do ask, how did the person pass? Because that's usually a good piece of evidence that helps identify the person. And when I ask that question, I feel it physically in my body. They take me to the place where something went wrong, there's heart or lungs or something
as well. Yeah.
That's got to be a little bit concerning at times.
It for me, it's never bad enough where it's like painful. Like I might feel like a twingy kind of pain, just enough to get my attention, but I don't ever feel like something terrible,
Those aren't the ones that wear me out. The only time I get worn out by it and I don't, it's unhappy for me, but because I have to have time to clear myself of the feelings is when a tragedy has occurred.
Yes, those can be very difficult. Yeah,
they are very difficult. And most of the time they come at me through another person in the family and it's just occurred and they're asking me, where are they?
Oh my goodness.
Alive or dead. And most of the time I can tell you instantly what happened, where they are, all of that. But it eats me alive if they're young ones. Okay?
Oh yeah.
It eats me alive. And it seems like in the last couple of years, that's all the ones that are calling me for help. And it's bringing me out. And I had to put a stop on it in myself. I had to go push it back and say, you know what? I need a break. This is way too much for me. I've got all this going on and I push it back now.
Yeah.
And every now and then it'll come at me that I know that I must say something, but it's weird.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the times we're currently in, our current time space continuum is that there's a lot of young people that are passing from, suicides and drug overdoses and fentanyl and all these terrible things. And I got to go see Cindy Keza in person doing a group gallery reading. Wow. But unfortunately, most of the readings she did were suicides and drug overdoses. And
wow.
So, man. It's awful, but can we also get it together, as a human race? Can we quit sliding back into like these terrible things and there's, it's got to get better. It has to.
Right. That's my opinion.
So what do you think about physical mediumship? Because, there are mediums who
it's very different.
Table tipping and
I have never experienced a physical medium working in my, in person. I know a fellow medium who is learning how to do physical mediumship.
Oh, wow.
So, I like her and I trust her and I know that she is like for real. So if she's experiencing those things, I tend to want to believe her. But some of those things I don't know if I believe them, just because I haven't experienced it myself. Like the ectoplasm or the apports or like those things that a physical mediums do.
Seems to take a certain kind of physiology, I guess. I don't know.
I'm not saying it's impossible because I think anything's possible.
Well, when you do a reading, do the spirits hang around, or have you had like to clear your house because spirit keeps bothering you?
Well, when Dolly was talking about how she's kind of had to push it back, I wanted to tell her that was perfectly fine, because as someone who is able to communicate to spirits, when they know that, they come. They want to be able to communicate with somebody who can hear them or see them or get a message to so-and-so. So you have to learn how to set up boundaries. You have to be firm with them.
That's right.
When I started this at 3:00 in the morning, every night, it's like, somebody's there. And I'm like, no, you guys, I have to get up in 2 hours. Can we please? You're not doing this right now. So I learned that it took consistency, like being stern about it, setting those boundaries. I am not open for business right now. I'll turn the open sign on when I'm ready.
I'm going to tell you, Preston has mediumship abilities. Okay, he sees people.
It's happened, yeah.
He can interact with them, and he's had to get up. He'll get up in the middle of the night, OBE. Okay, and he's walking around the house, and they're all in the house.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was telling us about that on the Witching Hours. Yeah.
And he's like, out, leave, goodbye. And it is amazing to me, and he doesn't want to say he's a medium, but he is. I know he is.
Aww.
He's got that ability, like, wow. And it's like, when you have to clear your house every night because they know you're there. Never live near a cemetery either. I've learned this, okay? Because they all show up. You're in the house the first night and they're all hanging around going, hey, how you doing? It's like, I don't know what happened to you. You want to move on? I can help you move on.
Yeah.
And some say yes, and others run away and come back and haunt you after that.
Well, we need to take a quick station ID break. So start thinking of other topics. I want to hear more about the whole spirit art thing.
Okay.
And
do you have any with you?
Let me do the station break.
I'll grab them while he does the station break.
Okay. All right.
Hold on a second. All right, everyone, you are listening to The Light Gate. This is actually episode 39. I am your host, Preston Dennett. My lovely co-host is Dolly Safran. Our guest today is Medium Jenny Lea. And in fact, if you check out the show notes, you can go to her website and her Twitch channel and all the other amazing things that she is doing currently. And we are streaming live on United Public Radio Network 107.7 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans in Louisiana. Also from the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM. We are on Roku. We are on YouTube. We are on Facebook. And we are beaming out to the stars, so all the ETs and spirits can watch us too. And yes, our guest tonight is Medium Jenny Lea. We've been talking about her early experiences with channeling and perhaps an actual ET visitation when she was a teenager, and all kinds of exciting stuff she's done with her mediumship. And we've really just begun to scratch the surface. And I know she's also an artist. I'm going to pop up a piece of her art right here so you can see. She's really quite talented.
Oh, thanks, Preston.
Here is another piece. I only pulled up a couple real quick, but really beautiful work, Jenny.
Thank you.
Here, let me see. So yeah, I'd love to hear more about, because art is a big deal. It's a part of all our lives. My sister-in-law really drove it home for me how important art is.
I watched the episode with her and I just loved it, because I love that she is able to take what people saw and put it on paper, and they can be like, oh, that's it, and they can have it as, a representation of the thing that they saw. It's wonderful. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I have a lot more spirit art than I remember making. But I'll show you the very first one that we did. So this was the image that came through, and it was two different entities. So the top part here, which is like the sunflower kind of looking thing, was an energy that came through, and he was being really righteous about things. Like, we need to be scared about we need to be scared, and we need to be honorable, and we need to do all this stuff. And then he kind of got booted out, and this other entity came in, and that's what this stuff is at the bottom. And this was Peter the very first time. And he was angry, and he was frustrated. He was like, you guys need to get it together. But he also was like, this guy's full of, you know what?
For those who can't see it, because there are some people who are just watching on radio, it's a beautiful orange kind of flower, and below is some more, I'm not sure how I would describe it.
Very like energetic, jagged kind of scribbles in different colors. So then we end up kind of going through what came through together, and we come up with a final message. So this one was reaching for source from the chaos of earthbound life.
Oh, wow.
Peter was angry and sad about the human race and what was going on here. Yeah, so that was the very first one. That was our first introduction to Peter. And then one night we decided to see if he would draw a self-portrait of himself, and he did. And this is what he drew.
Oh, wow.
And he was joking around. He's like, I guess I should have used a comb.
That's really interesting, actually.
Yeah. And the message, I forgot the message. The message on the back says, remember who you are. We aren't bushy eyebrows and broken noses. We are divine.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's a couple of the pieces we've done with Peter.
Well, that's very interesting. So what is that like? I mean, is that similar to channeling then?
Yes, that's actually how I started with the channeling, because I had taken a class for automatic writing, and I was terrible at it, and I couldn't get it to work. And I was like, well, maybe I should try this the channeling trance stuff. And instead of trying to write something, I should do it with art. And it's the very first time it just worked. So we just keep going with it, see what comes through and who comes through.
Wow. So do you have any more that you want to share?
Let's see. There was two really important ones that came through before all this information was actually in my awareness about how we need to restructure the things in our world, that everything is kind of broken and old and it needs to be fixed.
Well, there's truth there.
Yes. So this one I believe was the structures. Mm-hmm. So for those of you who can't see it and out there in no video land, it's a black and white drawing of different kind of organic shapes, and some have shadows and shading and some don't. So this was his message for this one. It is the responsibility of each individual to examine the structures of their minds. If a structure is flawed, rebuild it. Keep the structures that are helpful and bring joy.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then there was another one that went with that one, but I don't think I pulled that one out. And that one was it was also about restructuring things and changing things to make it how we want it to be, and not how we think it should be, because it's always been that way, you know. You guys will enjoy this one. This was the last one we did. This is from October, and it got really weird and crazy. It's a lot of weird shapes and squiggly things and things that don't fit together. But basically what he was showing us was that which, you know, in the woo-woo world and maybe other places too, there's this idea of there's a shift happening. And I know Dolly talks about it because she's talking about the physical shift of our world with the poles changing, but there's also a spiritual shift that's going along with that at the same time. So he's talking about this shift that's coming, but what he was drawing in this one was he was saying that all these different energies and beings have shown up here to watch it and to help us.
Yeah.
And so that was.
Yeah, you know the old saying, as above, so below. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And E.T. taught me when I was growing up that everything that we do energetically on this planet goes through dimensionally all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
And that there are beings actually living in the dimension with us that we're not aware of, because we're not wide open psychic yet.
Yep.
And we're not seeing through the rifts in the dimensions, but we're all on top of one another. So everywhere you live, there are beings that live there with you all over this world and throughout our universe. And because of what we're going through right now, it's affecting them as well as it's affecting us. Only they're capable of dealing with it way better than we are.
Yeah.
We used to talk about having guardian angels and stuff like that. They're really showing up now, and people are talking about seeing, hearing, and feeling things. And it's a positive, oh my God, you need help right now, than anything else. People are also talking about hearing voices that are saying, we need to fix ourselves now. It's become a broadcast, even all over our planet. And people are talking about it. They're saying, I feel this, I hear it, I know it. Yes, you do.
Yes.
You know?
And that's what was happening with that spirit art, with the structuring and the restructuring. Like, you guys have to figure out what isn't working and you need to fix it right now. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. So can I pop up a few questions that have been added?
Absolutely. Bring them on.
All right. Here is one from Louise. And this is the question. Is there such a thing as being a, quote, little psychic, or is it like being a little pregnant?
Excellent question, Louise. I think that everybody is capable of having any kind of all of these abilities, because guess what? You're not really this human, physical, fleshy thing. Your spirit, which Dolly likes to say, indwelling in this fleshy thing, right? So because we are all the spiritual energy of a conscious whatever, you're absolutely capable of having any and all of the abilities that are possible.
Right.
And I think that really we're meant to be, because that's what we are. But we've been conditioned for generations and centuries and thousands of years that that's not acceptable and that's not real.
We're also polluting our bodies, which is bad. Yeah. And even the ascended masters all the way through time, Jesus Christ himself said, be clean. Okay. Clean yourselves up.
Yeah.
Drink the good water, not the bad. Do things that make you pure and help yourself. It's
mentally too, not just physically. And emotionally.
Dropped all of the bad stuff. That's right, because it's clouding your ability to go outside of yourself and hear what's really going on. It's important.
All right. Well, here is another question then. And this is from JB3 Nun.
Do I do dream interpretation?
Do you do dream interpretation?
Good question. I've been able to interpret people's dreams to what I think is pretty good ever since I was like a kid. Somebody tell me a dream, I'd be like, well, you had that dream because of blah, blah, blah. And they'd be like, oh, I didn't even think about that. So yeah, I can do it most of the time. But, I really do think that sometimes we just have dreams that are just a hodgepodge, a jumbled up mess that you're not going to be able to understand because your brain's just, processing the data that you had through the day. But there are plenty of other kinds of dreams that are not really dreams too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that brings up a comment from Dorothy Hawkins here, who says, I had a future self dream one time that was so real. I believe I was there. So what do you think about
probably were, Dorothy?
Dreams that can be precognitive.
Not in Kansas anymore. That's right.
No, yeah, Dorothy, you weren't in Kansas anymore. You were in future life, future self life. No, I absolutely think that we can do such things.
Right. Your consciousness, your consciousness, who you really are, does not live in this timeline. And outside of your body, outside of the third dimension, it does exist simultaneously while it's indwelling you. It's still in source.
It's really hard for our logical human brains to understand all of that, but that really seems to be what's happening. And in the woo-woo world, we call that higher self. It's your higher self. Your higher self is the consciousness that's aware of everything and all the lives that you've had and all the lives you're going to have, because really all the time is happening at the same time. Yeah. Which my brain can't figure that one out still, but it's not supposed to.
I asked that same question. Talata gave me an answer. You want to hear it?
Yes.
He said it goes with why we're here. Okay. He said, you live in source. And before you came out of source, you knew everything. Everything. The problem with that is that you can be an educated idiot in source, not wise. Okay. And we come here to learn to employ what we're doing and how to use the information that we have. And the more wise you become in each lifetime, the better chance you have of not coming back here ever again. So your consciousness does know all this stuff, and it's constantly trying to talk to us and tell our physical mind, hey, pay attention, hear this.
Which I think for the average person who isn't into all of this, that's what they would call a gut feeling.
Right, exactly.
Yes, it's an intuitive gut feeling that I think every single person has experienced that before.
Yeah,
absolutely.
For sure.
It's the same thing.
On. That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Now, there are a couple of people who are asking, do you do live readings on the air? And, I believe you do that.
Yeah, that's what I do on
right?
Twitch. Yes.
Right.
On Twitch on Wednesdays and Fridays, Wednesday mornings, Friday nights. That's what I do. Yeah, that's what I do.
Okay, that's what I thought, because there are people who are like, can we get a reading now? And I don't want to put you on the spot. Because...
come to the Twitch channel.
All right.
Or you can, I do offer personal readings too. But yeah, Twitch is fun. We have an awesome community, and there's always some craziness happening. So.
All right. So you guys who are asking for readings, definitely check out Jenny on her Twitch channel. You can connect with her through the links and get a reading directly from her, which I am sure would be awesome. So have you ever done a reading where it's negative, or you're learning stuff that, gosh, how am I going to tell this person? This is bad news.
Yeah, because some people's loved ones on the other side weren't so nice in the living. We all got one of those, I think. So sometimes they're the one that comes through. For the most part, those are when those readings happen, which I think we just had one of these this week, or last week. The person is starting to realize that they weren't the nicest person in the living, and they're trying to make up for it now. But sometimes there's been people that have come through that are still not nice. And it's either I shut it down or I ask the person, the sitter, do you want to hear from this person? And if they do, then awesome. If they don't, then we can just let it go.
Yeah. One of the things that I learned really young is that there are entities surrounding us that are not nice.
Yes.
Like to call them demons and things like that. But they're literally wandering around, growling, angry, blah, 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 blah. And when you come in contact with it, the best order of the day is to say bye. Out of here.
You don't give them your fear. You don't give them your energy. You don't give them your time.
Don't feed them at all.
It's like, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. Well, we have more questions. Here is one from Karen Camacho. Have you ever sat to do a mediumship reading and nobody came through with that person? Like, sorry, no messages for you.
There have been times where it seemed like that might happen, where I'm like, it's a little empty today. But usually somebody does come through. One of the hardest things that I have happen is someone will come through, but the person in the living didn't really know the person that's deceased, because they died when they were a kid or they died before they were born. And nobody talked about that person, apparently, because the person that I'm reading for doesn't have any information about them. And that happens a lot. But I think the wonderful thing about that is to realize that your loved ones, whether you knew them or not, are really keeping up with you. they're watching, they're hanging out, they want to see what's going on in your life. Like you're just as important to them as if you would have known them in the living, because they come through all the time. That happens all the time.
I like to imagine them all sitting up on a big long cliff in their lawn chairs, and there's a fence to keep them from coming over, but they're watching. They're all partying, and they're all
they got their popcorn. Yeah.
Yep.
So how do people find you on Twitch? I believe we have it in the notes, but
it's Medium Jenny Lea. Lea, not a E.
All right.
And if you go to my website, which I know is in the link, the chat, the YouTube notes, my website has everything on there. Yeah.
All right. Well, I will pop up another question then.
Okay.
Here we have one, and nice, easy to read caps. Thanks, Fun Talks TV. And here's the question to Jenny. I have been wondering this forever. If people actually reincarnate, why do some spirits come through after numbers of years and not move on to the next life?
That's an excellent question, one of which Fun Talks TV, I'm always wondering about myself. And I think it has to do with what Dolly's been talking about tonight, and also what we've been saying about time and space too. There's always a part of us in the source area, the source layer, that never comes here. So that higher self energy has experienced and knows all of the different lives that have come through. I do also think that there are times when people choose not to reincarnate, or they don't reincarnate for a certain amount of time. And then I also think that the time issue also is happening, where because all times happen at the same time, really, Fun Times TV, you're really in every life that you've ever had, every life you're ever going to have, all at the same time.
Yeah.
Which I know for me makes my brain want to blow up. So I know.
I OBE'd to the Akashic Library because I wanted to see, just what it is it said about me and how does it do that. And I found this catalog of long drawers. Okay. And there was one with my name on it.
Ooh.
And I knew my name, not the name that I have now, but I knew my name. I saw it. And I went to open it, and it opened for me. And in this drawer was my book that I have on board with ET.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, And I took the book out and I put it up on a table and I flipped it open. And the very first thing I saw freaked me completely out because it was source. I was looking at source. I was like, and I didn't know what to think. I sat there totally unable to communicate anything. I just was like, staring at it. And the next thing I know, I hear a voice, and the voice is the all mind. Okay. And it just said, turn the page. I thought, well, that was simple. Dummy. And I turned the page. And then the next thing I know, I'm involved with everything that I need to think about, literally, from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime, that I'm either not getting right or I'm planning on working on. And then I realized that I was taking time between lives sometimes, an extensive amount of time, to be there to learn what I needed to learn again. Where it's like re-review it. In other words, life in review.
Absolutely.
Really comprehend how boneheaded I am from time to time. And I think that's one of the reasons we do wait, because we have to decide what it is. I mean, you can't keep dragging issues over and over and over again and learn nothing.
Hopefully not.
At some point, you got to debrief and say, okay, I got it now. I don't want to be challenged with this again. I really understand it this time now. Can I move on to something else? And of course you're going to, and you just have to figure out what that is that you want. I don't think we come here blind. I think we come here knowing what we're going to. And I think we gather that information and we work on it before we even get here, because everything we do, for every action, there is an equal or opposite reaction. And there's 1,000 different ways you can respond. And the very last thing I saw in the book was how I respond to anything that happens to me is of paramount importance because that's what drives your karma. Okay.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, I'm so happy with all of this. And I got up and I put the book back and I couldn't understand how it could be there and on board at the same time. And I found out from ET, it follows me, it goes up with me because we're going interdimensional. I can call it
Ooh,
body. Okay.
neat.
And, I was like, okay, well, I understand that. But once I got back, my whole brain exploded because that's a lot of information.
It is.
You
And you're
just
like,
have to
how is
know
this
why.
possible?
I know,
Yeah.
I know. And I had to debrief myself for like a year after that,
Mhm.
you know, and I'm
Yeah.
like, well, what am I doing now? What am I doing now? And I had to calm down about it. I really did. It's, geez, it's
Yes.
crazy.
Our thoughts and feelings have way more power than you realize.
Yep.
Thoughts are things. Thoughts
Right.
are things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
All right. Well, here's a question that pertains to all this from Doxy. Jenny, do you see the book? I see one just prior to OBEs, and I can flick through the book. The book consists of snippets and movie scenes. I can stop and watch it like a movie trailer.
I think she's kind of talking about what Dolly's talking about, that like
Hmm.
Akashic Records kind of.
Right.
Yes. So yes, I've been to the Akashic Records many times. I've seen my own space before, and recently when I do past lives, that's actually I go there first, and I get taken around to wherever their book is, or I think a lot of people have more than one book. Sometimes I think people got a whole little section, and then I see the book I'm supposed to get. I pull it off the shelf and I open it, and that's when the movie starts. Yeah,
Wow.
It's amazing. It's really amazing. I mean, it's amazing.
it
Yeah, I've been
is.
to the Akashic Record twice. It was difficult for me to get there.
Yeah,
I had a real hard time, but boy, once I got there, it was amazing. It was for
it
me. It was
is.
all about past lives. They showed
Mhm.
me a bunch of them. But I'm
Yes.
going back for sure. And I know we all go there. For those of you who are like, oh, I've never been there. Yes, you have.
Yeah.
We're going. We all go there every night. We just
Yeah.
don't really remember it.
Not conscious of it. Yeah.
I have to pop this comment up from Rad Peanut because it makes me laugh because I've had this. I have a lot of precognitive dreams, but sometimes I don't remember them until they're actually happening.
Yeah.
And I
Deja
had
vu.
I've had it actually where the event will pass me by, and then I will remember having had precognition of an event from the past, which I don't even know how to call. I call it retro precognition. Because, how do you explain to someone, oh, I had precognition of something that happened yesterday? It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It just goes to show how our minds work and what time is, and how mediumship and channeling and how you can connect with people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you often get events from people's future when you're doing readings for them, or is it more just like connecting with their spirits?
Yeah, sometimes future things show up, like that jewelry thing I was talking about earlier. There was
Right.
also another time where it was actually for the same person we were talking about earlier, Luce. They and their husband are cat rescuers. They have
Mm.
work for a cat rescue.
Aw.
And I was reading for them, and I got this image of a cat, and I'm like, this is cat. And they're like, I don't know what cat you're talking about. We ain't got that cat. And then literally like 2 minutes later, gets a text from the lady who runs the cat rescue. Hey, I got this cat you need to come get. And it was the cat that I saw. So it was like happening in real time, but it hadn't happened just yet. Yeah.
You gotta love this universe.
Yeah. Spirit knows what's up.
Absolutely.
We don't know what's going on, but Spirit knows.
All right. Well, the questions are coming in fast and furious. Thanks, guys. I actually love doing questions, so
Yeah.
it's fun to
come in.
engage. And here is one from Karen Camacho. And this is a good one because this is kind of an interesting question. She's asking, how does spirit know their living loved one is sitting with a medium and it's time to pick up the phone?
Because they know everything, Karen. I hate to tell you that. They're with you all the time. No,
Yeah.
that freaks people out. They're like, what if I'm taking a shower?
Yep.
But no, like the way that it seems to work, and I don't know because I don't remember from when I was there, but they can be everywhere all at one time. So you're putting that thought, you're putting that emotion, you're putting that intention out. They pick up on it and they sense it and they feel it and they hear it. And that's when they come running,
Yeah.
and that's when they connect.
Everything is interconnected, and we're connected to everything, even across the universe. There are people that are good friends with. They're living lives across the universe, and you can still connect with them.
Yeah.
All you have to do is think about it, and boom, it happens. Those little protons are really neat little communicators, and they just boom, and it actually turns on. It's instantaneous. It's like you put your radio down on the dial to the frequency you want to pick up, and then you turn the handle on, and boop, it's there. That's what you're doing psychically. You're tuning in. Poof, there it is.
Instant.
Okay. Let me pull up another question. Here we go. Fun Talk TV.
Sorry, when he does it, it kills me.
Is that the one we just answered, though? About why do some spirits come after a number of years, but not new? Yeah, we did that one.
Oh, okay. That may have come up twice there.
Oh, yeah, because then they said sorry for the spam, so they must have said it more than once.
Okay.
Right.
It's okay, Fun Talks. It's okay. It happens.
This isn't so much a question, but I'm wondering how people sometimes react, because Foreshore is saying, I think it would be interesting but kind of creepy to get a reading. Do people ever freak out?
Some people are very nervous about it, anxious, like, oh, who's going to come through and what are they going to say? Some people are weirded out about it.
I absolutely love it. I've been to a number of psychics. Over the years, it's fun to visit a psychic or a medium.
Yeah.
And when they read you, it's like, wow, this is the coolest thing.
Yeah. I've never met a medium who looks at a person and says, I know everything you did wrong. Mediums don't work that way.
No, we get information from spirit.
Right. And they love us.
We don't know nothing, people. It's spirit.
Right. Yeah. So there's none of that. And if you have something that you're hiding, it's not going to come out in a reading because you're already clamped down on it. You're not going to let it out. And spirit won't tell either.
It is an illusion. All will be known.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're connected. We're all one. So and that's, I think, how mediumship really kind of works, is because we do have these. We're a telepathic race. We're all telepathic.
Yeah.
God, if only we were all mediums, what a different world we would live in. That would be amazing.
I think that's where we're headed, we are supposed to be, everybody's supposed to be open to everything. I think that's where we're supposed to be going. So we'll see. We'll see when we get there, I guess.
It's a journey of discovery.
Yeah, sure is. Learning. This is life, Earth school.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hard school.
Adventure is every day.
Graduate. All right, here is a question from Rad Peanut, who is asking, sorry if it was already asked, I don't think it was, but do people who don't believe in reincarnation still get reincarnated?
Excellent question.
I've got my own thoughts about this one.
I think so, because it's not what you believe when you're here, because that's not what's really happening.
Right.
I've had many spirits come through who said to me, I did not believe in this when I was living. And that's usually good evidence, because I can say, your grandma's here and she said that she would have not done this if she was alive. Right. And they're like, oh yeah, she was, super religious, or she went, she was Catholic or whatever. So it's not related to the reincarnating thing, but definitely spirits come through who didn't believe in this in the living. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Good. Very good. Here is, and we've got lots of questions. I love this. And this is from Doxy, and she's asking to Jenny, during a session, have you ever become physically freezing cold inside your body?
I do have a lot of physical sensations often, but I don't think I've ever experienced freezing cold, though. I think that if I did, it would probably have something to do with whoever was coming through. Like, that would be a piece of evidence for them.
Yeah. Well, I've seen, mediums feeling what they're picking up from the spirits, and it can be very intense.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. What else do we got going on here? Okay. any question is okay. So I guess I'll bring this one up, even though Kentron Chameleon is asking, hello, Preston, Dolly, and guest. What do you think or know about the ETs that were seen at a shopping mall in Miami, Florida? And I'll just pop in first on this one.
Okay, go for it.
I am the UFO guy, and I am skeptical. I think this is something that's blown up in the media way beyond proportion. A strong police response at a mall happening is not at all unusual, especially in these times. The information that's coming out on it is very conflicting and an enormous amount of CGI. This is just the skeptic in me. I can't say I've talked to firsthand people who've been there. I've listened. I'm tracking it, but this reminds me of some of these other events we're seeing that are just being blown out of all proportion. Mm-hmm. I don't think there are 8 foot tall or whatever they are aliens walking around in the Miami Mall. That's just my pure intuitive response. I haven't done an investigation. I'm waiting for someone to actually investigate it.
What if they really want to go to Claire's though, Preston? They want to Aunt Annie's pretzel.
Does happen. I mean, you never know.
Yeah, that's the way I feel about the video stuff. Is like, I want to. It's like I feel like the X-Files. I want to believe that it's real. I want to be able to see a video of one, but like, it's probably just somebody made it.
Well, if you look at the pictures and the videos, the pictures especially, the people in the picture with the 3 tall people, they're out of proportion to the room. And one of the people isn't even looking at them. They look like they're overwalking them. And it is human nature to notice something that anomalous in your way. And everybody would have turned. And I've seen it personally happening in real life where you go, dang, nobody noticed them. Okay?
Yeah.
And you can do that with CGI. And if you blow the picture up, which I have done, and because I'm nosy as hell, and it doesn't match. It's an overlay. In the picture of software that tells me.
Now they even have the AI. My son was showing this to me. They have an AI that makes really realistic looking people.
Absolutely.
But it's not. They're not real people. Like those people don't exist.
Right.
But there's always one thing. It's like, oh, the lady's got 6 fingers.
That happens in real life here.
Or her foot's turned sideways or something,
I also know that I have people in Miami who talk to me regularly. I'm from Miami, okay? And I got a call about it and said, have you seen this? And he said all the cops were out there because kids lit off about 50 pounds of fireworks outside the side doors of the mall. And that's why there's smoke everywhere outside. And coming in toward the doors, but not in the mall. You also have to understand that this is Miami, and they've had an incident 3 weeks prior to that where, and then in the past where people have been shot up and killed in that mall. The police do not play. And you also have to remember that this is DeSantis country, okay? And they are extremely vigilant to anything that goes on. So the police presence was a response by that organization for something like that. I do. Now, I will tell you something else, and people might not like to hear me say it, but I'm going to say it because it's the truth. We want to believe when we hear things, like you said, but without evidence, without critically eyeballing it and researching it yourself so you know the truth, you shouldn't be going on what anybody says because we're the gossipy bunch of humans ever. Okay. And gossip has a tendency to change person to person to person. So what the first person said ends up being 8 miles out of what the third person said or the fourth, fifth down the road.
Yeah, we used to say that game at school, telephone.
Exactly, the telephone.
And now we have a media who are not okay and will override everything and drive the narrative in the direction they want it to go. And we all need to be cognizant of that. So that's my opinion about this. It's fake news.
All right. Well, we've got more questions that are more on point. We may have talked about this, but Gina DeFrost is just putting an exclamation point. Future life regressions.
Yes.
So that does come up, right?
I did do one for someone. Yes. And I've looked into one for myself. They were pretty normal, just normal lives. Like it was like in the kitchen, cooking something, For the person I did the reading for, it's like in current life, they're female. In that life, they were male. And for me, I was like this really cute Scandinavian lady with a very handsome Scandinavian man. We were in a ski lodge. So I'm looking forward to that life. Maybe it'll be John of the Frost again. I don't know.
Probably. We do seem to reincarnate with our group.
Yeah.
That comes up a lot. All right. Here's a question from Rad Peanut. Thanks, guys. I love these questions. She's asking, what could a knocking on the door when no one is there mean? Many things, I think.
Yeah. Could be some spirit or energy trying to get your attention.
Exactly what I thought.
Yeah.
We know that.
Yeah. But you also have to try to debunk it too. Is it something that's making the noise?
Is there a raccoon knocking nuts on your door trying to break you, you know? That can happen, or a woodpecker or a bird or some other night creature like a cat trying to get in.
But if you know that it's not something and you're like, I don't know what it was, and it could be somebody trying to get your attention. Yeah.
Right. And I would give advice here. Y'all need to stop being afraid of this stuff. If you're knocking on your door, investigate it. Don't be afraid. Go to the window, shine a light, go look through the peephole, you know, turn the light on so you can see the light come under the doors and anything moving around behind the light. I mean, investigate it. Don't sit there and go, oh, figure it out. Okay.
All right. Well, we have a good 15 minutes left, so I'm going to try and get through some of these questions. I've got about 14 lined up. 10. Liana King.
Bigfoot.
Have you had any Bigfoot?
Love Bigfoot.
Oh, good. I love Bigfoot too.
I just introduced my younger children to Harry and the Hendersons the other day. I have felt Bigfoot's presence, but I have not seen it. But I felt it twice. Yes.
Yeah. Well, Bigfoot is real. I've done my research and had my own encounters, so I absolutely am a believer.
Yes.
The big old Bigfoot. That's a whole topic we could do a complete show on.
Absolutely.
All right, Dorothy Hawkins. Do people who collect old things, antiques, also collect energetic imprints left behind by others?
This is an excellent question, Dorothy. And I can tell you, we just spent Saturday at a haunted location, the Hanover Tavern here in Hanover, Virginia, for a Paracon. And part of the building was built in the 1700s. And I can tell you that as I walked through the different rooms, I could pick up on the energy of every time period that existed in that space. So yes, things and places hold residual energy. But does that mean that if you bought an antique elephant statue at a thrift shop that you brought home, like, grouchy old lady? Most likely not. I mean, I think that sometimes that does happen. I have heard of actual spirits being attached to an object, but I think for the most part, it's just that everything, all at energy just persists, and it leaves the imprint. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, that's like what psychometry is. You can hold a person who had an old ring on and tell a lot about them.
Mm-hmm.
Each object's, well, that's like walking into a home and giving a reading on the home itself.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. Here is another question from For Sure. Oh, I finally got that. For Sure. A little slow here. Can the spirits tell you if you're on the right path in your life or not?
That happens all the time, For Sure. Because I have so many different kinds of readings that come through for people at this point, a lot of the other kinds of readings that aren't just grandma coming through to tell you that she loves you, they usually are something a little bit deeper, like, or you're not on the right path, or you are on the right path, or this is what you need to do, or, things like that.
Very cool.
They do.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on. And I think we did touch on this, but it's worth repeating. Allison Carr is asking, have you had a frightening spirit come through, and how did you get it to leave?
We got enough time for this one. I'll try and make it short. We had a very angry lady come through, and she just ended up being the sitter's aunt, but she had a really hard time, and she never worked through things in the living, And when she came through, she was super angry, like a wild beast. And I had to help her work through that. And then the next day I was trying to take a nap, and she came and she like jumped me because she wanted more help. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, you can't just do that, you know? But I did give her a little more advice, and I sent her on her way. I'm like, okay, you got to go now. You got to go. Like, you cannot stay here. This is not, you know. And she did. And to have a good end to that story, she did figure out what she needed to work on, and she came back and told us that she was much better.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So she was earthbound?
Yeah, she was definitely stuck somewhere harassing people in her old space, for sure.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned to try to tell people that if they're earthbound, it sounds corny, but it helps. I had this guy's name was Norman, and he followed me from near Conyers at a big CE5 event that we did out at an astronomical village, and he followed me home. He messed with my car all the way, and once he got home, he would not leave me alone.
Yeah.
And he was trying to get me to help him work stuff out, and I finally told him that, you know, you don't have to be here to do that. There are other people on the other side waiting to help you. All you got to do is go. And I finally told him I had enough of him, and I sent him on to another friend of mine.
Dolly.
You wanted him. I said, go ahead, you get out. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Take this Norm fella.
you doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Funny.
I think we have time for a couple more questions because that's all we have left, actually. Here's
I
just
know
a
the time
comment
goes
from
fast.
Dana, who says, read Journey of Souls by Michael Newton. Because according to Michael, everyone says the same things about the afterlife. Yeah, read the book. I can definitely recommend it. But here's a question from Gerard Levesque, who's asking if a deceased loved one has already reincarnated. How is it possible for a medium to contact them? I find this hard to believe, but I can say that most people who pass on wait for their families
They do.
to come along and join them. But yeah.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I think the majority of time people wait for their families to get there. I have tried to tap into, I got an old picture of a really old relative from like the early 1900s, and I tried to tap into her energy, and she wasn't there anymore. Like, she's already here somewhere doing something else. But like we were talking about earlier, really there's no time, there's no space, everything's happening at the same time. We have a higher consciousness. So I think it still would be possible to have some sort of interaction with the consciousness of that loved one, even if they're also here at the same time.
All right. And one final question real quick, because we do have to close this down in about 5 minutes. And Rad Peanut is asking, what does it mean to be earthbound?
It's a ghost, Rad Peanut, a ghost. It's just
a real problem.
It's a person who has impressed themselves upon this plane instead of moving up to the next plane because of many different reasons.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here are some of your social media links for people who are interested. Again, these are on the show notes, but anything else you want to mention that we haven't covered already?
I mean, there's probably, we could talk for 2 more hours, but no.
You can come back, right?
Yeah, if you want me back, there's a lot more stuff to talk about. Because we didn't even really talk about my ET experiences with the
I'd love to unpack it.
Yeah.
Right, we didn't get to that. Well, next time. So sorry.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of our show tonight at the Lightgate. You can see us every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We love you. I hope you had a wonderful time with us tonight and our wonderful guest, Jenny Lea, Medium Jenny Lea. And if you want to see the show again and hear everything she said, it will be back up in minutes after we end. We were coming to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans in Louisiana at the United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM. I want you all to have a blessed week.
Yeah, thank you all for joining us each week. It's so very, very nice of you. And I love all these lovely little comments that you saying at the end. So yeah, you were a great guest. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Very most welcome up. Honor. Honestly, honor.
Oh, thanks,
Okay.
Holly.
Night, night, everybody.
Bye bye. Till next week.